And possibly some people may see that this is not appropriate, although the John Locke being known in the West as the philosopher on politics, but he has written enough information about tolerations, and I thought that is relevance in today's to compare with Fethullah Gülen. He is our contemporary, who is something around nearly 300 years ago lived in this earth. And my presentation is going to be as shown in here, and I will start with introductions, then later on biographic context of the Locke and Gülen, and basic framework thought of Locke and Gülen. And Locke and Gülen I'm going to detail, and comparisons, and similarities, and the differences, and the conclusions. Okay, in my introductions, and I just would like to talk a little bit about freedom of religion in liberal democracy. And in addition to that, I try to answer two most important questions, and how differences, clashes, violence in terms of or in the name of religions. I think similar things happening in today's as well. And therefore, this before going to detail, and I just looked the methodological approach, which is important in order to not mislead you. And the reason is that I haven't had great detail of information which the John Locke and the Fethullah Gülen delivered the thought on different area. I just try to concentrate on two writings of them. One of them is an essay on toleration, which is written by John Locke, and also another book, Toward a Global Civilization of Love and Tolerance, which has been compiled by Ergena, and is the writings and speeches of Fethullah Gülen. So that is the important information, because I assume some of you may criticize me that those two prominent scholars have great contribution on the other area, which completely I excluded, not included. It seemed to me that this study is quite unique. The reason is that because so far I haven't come across any studies which conduct on Locke and Gülen together, but there are various studies on Gülen and on John Locke about their contribution completely different. Okay, then now when we look at it, this biographical context, and it is clear that Locke and Gülen are different from many respects, such as historically, culturally, and religiously, and it can be right to accept that person is product of his times and circumstances around them, and the time and condition shape the people and their thought. I think in here we have to ask main question, which is concerning to Gülen's and Locke, how much that their times and their surrounding and environment has influence on them. Okay, that's the main questions. It seemed to me that those two prominent scholars have influenced their times and surrounding more than their times and surrounding influence to them. I think John Locke is born in 1632 and passed away 1704, and it is born in South England, called Somerset, and he's English, but is being considered one of the greatest figure in history of Western philosophy. He defended religions of toleration, advocated liberty. He had been shaped by the English culture and Christianity in 17th century. On the contrary, when we look at the Fethullah Gülen, he born 1941 in Turkey, and Weller says that having been formed by Islam in such a way that It has been constant and fixed point of reference for his own personal life, his interpretation of the world, his teaching, and his actions. Therefore, he is a scholar of East in the last 20th century and the 21st century. When we look at their basic framework of thought, and this is the letters concerning the toleration which are used in order to extract the information which I am going to give it to you. Usually when we look at these, there are three categories we will come across. Although then if you read the John Locke in a particular different way, you will find out that he is named the natural rightist, natural law and purpose of the state, and etc. You will find out, which I am not going to deal with. But in this particular books, as I mentioned, that there are three topics he drew his attention, which I am going to discuss with you today. And first one is the mutual toleration of Christians. I think in here, what the John Locke tried to portray to us, that at the time of his, he said that Christians and the church have not particularly understand what is the Christianity is and what it's all about. And he talked various way, and seemed to me that he has enough information to talk about Christianity, and also he has enough skill to interpret the text of the Christianity. In his book, some extent he had done by underlining certain points. For example, what he says, the division that are among the sect should be allowed to be never so obstructive of the salvation of the souls. Then he said that toleration of those that differ from others in matter of religion is so regrettable, agreeable to the gospel of the Jesus Christ. All things necessary to distinguish exactly the business of civil government from that of religion, and settle the just bond that lie between the one another is state. I think also what we understand, that he talked about how Christian should be. He drew the attention to the Christian to be pious, to be virtuous, to be just, and also then he talking about the purification of the soul in order to achieve and the salvation. I think this is very, very important in order to understand John Locke in this area. And in second group is talk about how much the duty of toleration extend. In other words, what is the requirement from everyone to eat? I think that is another thing which we are going to concentrate on. I think John Locke is Christian and church and the religions, and he said how far the duty of toleration extend, what is it required from everyone to eat. His answer is very, very important. He said, I hold that no church is bound by the duty of toleration to retain any such person in her bosom after admonitions, continuous obscenity of offense against the law of society. And also he talked about the private persons, then also he talked about other churches and religions. It seemed to me that he tried to extend his tolerations quite wide range. But also what he says, who does not deserve to be tolerated? I think in here said the first one who has not believed. Second one who has the belief, or he said represent that kind of belief, being representing another countries or another prince. And thirdly, he said that who do not respect the community and the society. It seemed to me that is very, very important. But what is important point is that, and he made a kind of logical analogy, he concluded that idolaters and pagan should be tolerated. And he gave the very nice example in order to support his claim. He said this: what if another country to a Mohammedan or pagan prince, the Christian religion seem false and offensive to God? May not the Christians, for the same reason and after the same manner, be exported here? I think in here, he's not asked the question. He said that also, if we want Christians to be tolerated, to be respected in another country, we have to tolerate it and respect it to other people who are living in our country but they are possibly pagans, but possibly the Mohammedans. Last group is talking about the separation of church and state. I am sure I don't need to go detail on that area. And the second area, which I am going to introduce to you, about the Gülen. This is the books which is the main source which I investigated and conducted my analysis on it. And so therefore, and there's a compile, there are various articles on that. And similarly, when we look at these books, Gülen talk more or less similar patterns. First of all, he explained to us that the tolerations and dialogue, it is a requirement and it is a necessary and it is a part of the religions. Then he bring the various verses and interpret it in a way that this has to be done in that way. Secondly, and he offered models, and he said that, and it's very important, that we have to have a model which is not idealistic, but this is practical. Then this is usually due to the work of these institutions and the volunteers. People are from different cultures, ethnicity, and religions, able to have education from this together and benefiting from each other by recognizing their differences and tolerating themselves. What is the dialogue? What is the tolerations? In practice, that is the very, very important. I think we have to highlight one important point, which Gülen promote. He used the love is the essence of the tolerance or toleration and essence of the dialogue. And also he's talking about the loves. Then he said that you love the people because of the Creator, and you have to love the creations. And also what he says, at least we have the commonality between Abrahamic religions, and he stated the verse from the Quran, and it is chapter 13, verse 6, chapter 3, verse 64. It says, "O people of the book, come to common terms as between us and you. What we worship none but God, that we associate no partner with him, that we take not from among ourselves Lord and patron other than God. If then they turn back, say you, be witness that we are Muslims, those who have surrendered to the God's will." Then later on he interpreted this verse. He said that at least, okay, we have to be together, people, we have the commons. And in terms of the people who have the books, he meant the Abrahamic religions. But he continued to elaborate his deliberations and compassions and as well as devotions, then talk about this dialogues and toleration. Then he said that the future of the tolerance is bright, and people who are more tolerant than others will be proven by the time that they were right. The reason is that we all live in this world and we are passengers on the same ship, he said. And the people of tolerance, he said, will build a world based on tolerance. Therefore, he is very optimistic. Then he's very much encouraging us that that's going to be happening. I'm just going to look at a little bit comparisons and between these two prominent scholars, and also this is the similarities. There are similarities between these two scholars, and they both of them talk about the religious necessity, and the true Christian and the Muslim should observe. This is one. Secondly, they both advocate that tolerance that the others make the world worth to live. Finally, both suggest that political system only survive if they treat all citizens equally, not interfere their religions. And I think further we will look at their differences, not much, but although there are some differences, which is not important for me, but the main thing is that, and when we look at the John Locke, he's more concentrate on Christianity, but when we look at the Gülen, he's more white. Then he said that we have to be tolerant, not only human beings, but all creatures. I think I would like to show 3 more tables, which is quite interesting, I am sure. We found about